When Sean Fanning released Napster to the world, the industry was caught completely off guard. A new revolution of digital distribution erupted on the general population, immediately followed by an abundance of copyright infringement cases to try and stop them. From there, the problem only seemed to escalate as the crash of Napster brought on many clones and competitors that proved more difficult to shut down because of their lack of centralized servers. Everybody from the recording, software, and movie industries were appalled with this new technology, and they started doing everything in their power to deter people from using these services. The problem was that nobody realized the full impact of what they were doing. After all, it's a victimless crime, isn't it?
I gotta think there's kids out there who are downloading the music and maybe they've stopped buying CDs and maybe they've stopped buying movies. And how many of them do you want to be an artist? Do you want to be a musician? Do you want to be a director? Do you want to be the first AD, the craft service, all the 100 different people that work on a film set, the studio mixer? You know, if you got to think about that, you're shooting yourself in the foot. What's going to be left? Accounting jobs.
Particularly with young people, there's a whole demographic growing up with the view that you don't have to buy music anymore, because the techno-literate generation that have grown up on computers, they've had a keyboard at their fingertips, they've had free music online, and they've exploited it, and they haven't really had a legal option.
Okay, you know, it started just with Napster, and now look at it, right? You know, it's not just because there's dozens that I know of that you can do it, so it's gotten worse, and it will get worse.
There's not much you can do about it, really. You know, the more you try and stop people from downloading, the more they want to download. And there will be quite a few people that will switch to legal options when they're available, but people like me, you're never going to get to switch. You know, I don't really think it's hurting anybody, so.
I think it affects major corporations in a certain way, as well as just like the average Joe, because major corporations incorporate a lot of average Joes into like their workforce. So, you know, there's a guy, you know, upstairs, you know, doing this or that on the computer to make sure you can't do this or that, and you're doing it anyways.
The problem is that most people, you know, sitting in their computer room in their house, it's not like shoplifting where, you know, you're somewhere else and grabbing something off a shelf, or stealing a car, or, you know, grabbing a chocolate bar from the local 7-Eleven. You're in your house, nobody's watching you, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, do I buy this CD, do I buy this DVD, or do I just, you know, click here? And so it takes, like, I certainly understand why people might think it's okay, but it doesn't make it okay.
Though some in the industry would have you believe that piracy is some sort of new fad that crept up on them, it's actually been around for quite a while. Some of you may remember back in the early to mid-70s when the audio cassette and the Betamax and VHS started to come to market. The television industry thought that if people started taping TV shows, it would make sponsors drop their ads and it would ruin the industry. The music industry thought that you would record stuff from the radio rather than purchase the music. But they both adapted to the new technologies and they both survived. Think they can do it again?
Every single release from a major production company is going to get ripped. Whether it's a screener of a movie or a studio mix of an album, it's going to get done. The release groups are very diligent in their efforts. They get everything.
Most new releases end up hitting the internet days, sometimes weeks before they hit retail stores. But how does a screener of a movie show up on a computer before the big screen? How do beta versions of software get leaked early? Who are these people that distribute blockbuster movies and studio mixes to the world? They are the pirates of the underground. We managed to talk to one of them, and you won't believe what he told us.
Okay, well, first off, I'm not going to be telling you anything that any of the major government agencies don't already know about. So, I'm not going to be blowing the whistle on anybody or anything that we do. But, for us, it's a challenge. It's a race, The first people with the most releases out there wins, basically.
So where do you get all of this stuff?
Well, one of the first things is we have to acquire the media. And that's generally done through, somebody that works in a studio or in a recording studio or a software company or something like that. And, you know, we also get stuff from, you know, distributors, shipping warehouses, people that vote for the Academy Awards, you know, stuff like that.
The day that Ginger Snaps Unleashed, the sequel, came out in the theaters, you could get it online, perfect version. And we're like thinking, well, where did that even, we haven't even really delivered our, like, it's people on the inside, let alone people on, you know, like kids buying the DVD, figuring out how to rip it, you know. The DVD's not even out yet. So it's somebody on the inside, somebody at one of the distributors that we were dealing with. And like, we were finding, you know, when you make a film, as you're editing the film, you reach certain points in the cut. And so you might have, you know, like a rough cut. And then those screener cassettes of those go out to the distributors. I was finding online, like, different versions of my movie. You could get a screener of a rough cut of my movie online. That's enough to make you want to throw up, you know? You don't want that out. I don't want people, that's private, you know? That's for me and the producers and the distributor. I don't want other people seeing that. It's crazy. So, I mean, that's some, you know, some dick in the tape room that's, you know, disgruntled for whatever reason, and, you know, ripping off stuff out of, like, his own company. It's insane.
The security has tightened up immeasurably with the record companies. I mean, this usually happens with some corrupt individual either in the studio process, the recording process, or the mastering process. Somewhere along the line, someone can get his hand on a file and obviously make it available illegally. So it is a huge problem where you've got recordings available weeks before the legitimate release of the recording.
There was an instance I know of not too long ago of a locally made film. They went to sell the rights to that film to Mexico, but there were already pirated copies down there, so nobody was willing to buy the rights because there are already pirated copies. Probably amounted to $100,000 US to that company, which meant that they couldn't put that money back into making their next film. Now, this is a tiny little Calgary company that just lost an opportunity to try to get some return so that they can continue on. If that happened to me, I'd be pissed.
Once we have the media, it gets ripped and posted to the top sites. Once it's there, we have crackers that come in, they remove, you know, serial numbers and, you know, anti-copy devices, tracking numbers, all that kind of stuff. Once all the testing and cracking is complete, the courier groups come in and they start spreading it around across the top sites and the dump sites, and everything just kind of, you know, starts to trickle down, and then it'll eventually end up in your, you know, home-based peer-to-peer client like Kazaa.
So what exactly is a top site?
Well, the top sites are basically just really big FTP servers where the wares end up first. You know, this is kind of their starting point. There's probably 20 to 30 of these servers in North America, 3 to 5 of which are maybe in Canada.
So what is a hacked server then?
Well, you know how you hear about all those exploits in Microsoft and how insecure Windows is? Well, say we find somebody that's vulnerable, what we'll do is we'll break into their computer and we'll basically turn it into an FTP server. You know, we'll load it with a bunch of our wares, and generally without them knowing. And until a patch is released or until their internet service provider notices the amount of bandwidth that they're putting out, we generally go undetected and people don't know we're even there.
Most of the time when you can find material like this, it isn't actually on the server that belongs to the people that want to provide the information. Most often it's someone who hasn't practiced good security, and somehow someone's found a way into their system, put all this content there and provided a service that then they publicize via email or perhaps internet relay chat as a place you can go and get their content, or more appropriately someone else's content, really. So most of the time they're hiding behind the fact that there's no real way for you to trace back to them the source. That's their biggest hiding spot, is the fact that there's no traceable way of finding them.
Although these types of servers are quite popular in this scene, they're not quite in your face like some of the more popular services are. Thousands of people a day trade files online using readily available programs that give them instant access to millions of files from a vast array of users. Most people are unaware that these hacked servers and elite servers even exist. So how do these files get from the elite top sites to the low-class peer-to-peer clients? Let's take a look at the trickle effect that occurs and see how it's done. Media that is found online before it's found in stores is generally acquired directly from people inside movie studios, recording studios, and software companies. Once the media has been acquired, it gets converted into a digital format and then posted to the top sites and dump sites. From there, the files start to show up on the IRC networks as well as the hacked FTP servers. After that, we start to see everything trickle down to the news groups and the popular peer-to-peer services like Kazaa. Some media is even distributed using websites at the www addresses. These get shut down quite quickly and quite often. But it doesn't matter where you get the media from, it all ends up in the same place, your home. But why would people risk downloading movies, music, or software given the well-known fact that peer-to-peer software is notorious for spreading viruses and installing crippling spyware onto your computer? Not to mention the fact that numerous companies have been loading bogus files onto the system for years to waste your time. What's the attraction?
It's a good way to figure out if I like the band or not, because I don't want to go buy a CD for 20 bucks and find out I only like one song.
So you know what? I'm getting to have it for free. That just puts an extra little smile on my face, and hey, I just downloaded it for, 2 minutes. Sweet deal. That's shorter than the actual amount it's going to take me to listen to this thing.
To be perfectly honest, I think there's a mentality in the entertainment industry that states that they can get away with whatever they want. You see it when you go to the movies, especially. You go and you pay whatever, $13 a movie, and you get hit up with 15 minutes of commercials, and then you get hit up with a commercial that says, where people too don't pirate. And of course you're going to create this mentality out there amongst your clientele that says, I don't want to take it any longer. So as such, is $13 too much for a movie? I think so. And is $25 too much for a CD? I think so. And is it right or is it wrong? It's obviously wrong.
Well, in Canada, we've arguably got the lowest retail prices in the world. So best-selling recordings sell for $16 or $17 in major markets. I just don't understand how $16 or $17 can be viewed as expensive.
I've been a music buyer for a long time, and I was a concert goer too, and I noticed when I was a lot younger, the price of tickets for concerts is a lot cheaper than it is now. It costs you a fortune to go see these acts. So they're getting their money back somehow. So I think it's kind of a twisted circle that really the customers, and whether that's you're not a burner and you're paying more for CDs, or maybe you are a fan and you go to a concert, you're going to pay anyway. We all pay. Inevitably, we all pay. Well, yeah, we all pay. Money's got to come somewhere.
Though a lot of people just like the idea of being able to get something for nothing, most people seem to use these programs as a sampler before buying. But there's still the people that just don't care and feel that they've been betrayed by the industry, and they feel that not enough is being done to persuade them to stop. After all, this is a problem that's been going on for years in many different forms. Nobody's stopped it yet. What can they do?
Say work with the people and work with the technology that's currently available, and instead of trying to stop it, use it to boost your sales.
The more you piss the consumer off and the more you mistreat the consumer, the more they're not going to feel sorry for you, or the less they're going to feel sorry for you, and the more likely that you're going to push people into wanting to bypass your distribution system.
There's always a hacker that's 10 times as smart as the person that writes the program to combat piracy. There'll be 15 kids that'll take that on as a challenge, So the only way to do it is to be, I think, proactive and say, okay, people want to download movies, how do we make a buck off that?
Regardless of how many people are doing it or how many files are currently being traded online, downloading software, music, and movies on the internet is illegal. It's intellectual property theft and it's spreading like the plague. Everybody is scrambling around doing everything they can to try and stop what's going on, but even with their best efforts, it seems to be a losing battle. Although there are now a few legal services for buying music on the web, and many software manufacturers are offering their products online, there are still millions of users that flood peer-to-peer services and chat rooms with their wares, and it's starting to hurt.
having just finished a film, having just finished 2 films, and knowing the amount of work and the amount of, love, blood, sweat, snot, tears that goes into making a movie, passion, yeah, it's pretty frustrating to know that somebody can double click and get it for free.
What about the people that claim that they didn't know what they were doing was illegal?
Well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Part of CAST's mandate is to raise awareness about the fact that it is illegal. I hope we're doing our job, but making a copy of software, like I said before, is the same as stealing a computer, stealing a car. If you're going to be taking it, then you're basically infringing another person's right to property, and that is a crucial thing to understand.
Part of what they're doing, I think, is just trying to raise awareness. Because I know one question, I don't know how many people know that it is illegal. And even those who are aware that it's illegal, it's not a big law they're breaking, is it? It's not a really huge thing they're doing wrong, is it? So maybe it's just okay.
People may think it's okay, and they can come up with all the justification that they want if it helps them sleep at night. But excuses like, I wouldn't buy it anyway, or it's too expensive, just aren't going to cut it.
Well, normally the recording would sell into the retailer, depending on the record company, somewhere maybe $11 or $12. So you've got to really start there. The retailer's got overhead expenses, rent, staff that they have to make a margin on. The other elements in the recording are royalties to the record, to the artist, royalties to the songwriter, sometimes royalties to the producer. There's a return to the record company on the big investment that they make in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are marketing costs, costs of artists and repertoire people who find the music, find the artists. There is manufacturing costs of the insert booklet, the CD itself. In many instances now, bonus products like DVDs that are going into these packages. There's distribution costs. There is the production of music videos to support the process. All of these have got to get to the marketplace and make certain that the consumer knows the product's there. I mean, you can't just put out a piece of music because nobody's going to find it.
CBC released a report detailing the breakdown of a CD, and as Brian had mentioned earlier, only 7% is label profit. Here's the breakdown of where your money goes when you purchase a CD. 4% is retailer profit, 7% is label profit, 9% is manufacturing costs, 12% is artist and songwriting payments, 12% is record company distribution, sales, and overhead costs, 13% is promotion and marketing costs, 19% is recording, video, and production costs, and the final 24% is retail store costs. So those people out there that say the record companies are making enough money need to take a look at where their money is actually going. There are millions of dollars being lost every day due to piracy, and many people in the US are facing legal action because of it. But what about the people who create the software that allows these people to spread pirated material across the globe?
The people that are generating the software that allows piracy to go on, I think, in the mighty US of A and their, Charter of Freedoms, I think that it's pretty hard to pin it on those guys. In that they're actually not doing the piracy, they're just facilitating it. So I don't think that make no bones. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it so that people can do this. So I'm not personally a big fan of that, but we're in a new time, and it's a very gray area. It's a gray area, I think, of the law. It's a gray area of the way people feel morally about it. It's a really, really gray area. So I don't think that's why I think it's not going away soon for sure.
I guess the technologies that have been developed specifically for file sharing, such as Kazaa, I don't really think that you can hold them responsible for the use of the application. I certainly wouldn't sit here and pretend to you that they wrote it wholeheartedly with good intentions. I think they knew what the tool would be used for, but at the same time we build guns and we know what that tool is used for too. As long as you don't go out and rob a bank with it, it's okay. So it's a tool. If the tool wasn't there, would they find some other means to do this? Probably. Did the tool make it easier? Yes, but I still don't believe that you can hold the people that created the tool responsible for its end use.
Because they can't seem to go after the people that make the software, they have to go after the people that are using the software. So naturally, raising awareness about the issue is one of the top priorities for the industry in Canada.
The US started the education process first, ahead of us, and they started the litigation process first. We started our education program in April of 2003 and followed it up in August with what we call an instant messaging campaign, which basically let users of Kazaa know that free music is damaging artists' careers and songwriters' careers and investment in future music. But we also pointed out that, by the way, it is illegal. And we have gone to that stage. We have not gone to the third stage, which is the litigation yet. We have the capability. We've got all the same technology that the US is in identifying these individuals, how many copyrighted music files they have, and that they're uploading it. Because uploading is the biggest issue here. Sharing that music with tens of millions of people, probably more than that.
It's critical to educate, even, and I see this more and more earlier in earlier ages. Children may learn their bad habits from others, or they just need to be taught at the beginning that theft is theft. It's the same as stealing a computer. You know, if you don't steal the computer, don't steal the software. We start that at the ground up, and we like to go to colleges and universities where people are taking programming courses to tell them that the software piracy rate up to 40% in Canada, there's going to be a few less jobs here for you when you get out of school.
If Canada does join the US in the litigation process, who's going to be targeted for the lawsuits? The uploaders and distributors, or the people that download?
Well, both. We have concerns with both, obviously. The problem is the individuals who are downloading potentially thousands of songs, but more importantly, uploading them. And that is the biggest problem. When you sort of knowingly sharing these files, which are all downloaded illegally, essentially, to tens of millions of people. That's the problem. That's the bottom line problem that we have with them.
We're concerned with everybody who steals software, okay? But we're concerned with people who do the downloading, the P2P sites, the wares sites, that sort of thing. We're also concerned with larger counterfeit operations, and we don't see them as much here in Canada as you do in some perhaps Eastern European or Asian countries, where they actually duplicate the CD down to the label and the packaging and the hologram and everything. It's counterfeit. You can't tell that you have an illegitimate copy. We don't see that as much in Canada. We tend to see peer-to-peer sharing.
But you go to like sort of developing countries or third world countries, and it's just like, it's insane. The piracy is insane. Like, it's not only are people downloading the movies and watching it on their own computers, they're burning DVDs and selling them in a store, and CDs, like you can actually go into a store and there'll be one section that's, the original CDs, and then they'll have the same ones over here that are burnt, that are ripped off, and they're like $2 cheaper. So you can, like, if somebody you really like, you buy the original, and if not, you just buy but it's like in the stores. It's not even like underground. It's like wide open.
Although we have not yet reached piracy rates near that of our Asian counterparts, the industry will do everything in its power to prevent it from becoming that rampant. If the litigation process does go forth, the punishments can vary depending on the case.
It depends if it's civil action or criminal action. If it's civil action, it could be essentially by negotiation, whereby each downloadable song could have a price on it. That it would, if you've got 1,000 songs you've downloaded or uploaded, then if the copyright owners are putting a price on each song, like $100 or $1,000 or more, then you pay the piper. If it's criminal, the copyright infringement remedies are up to $1 million in fines and/or 5 years in jail. So take your choice.
When people pirate software in Canada, they're subject to criminal and civil fines. They can be charged. They can be charged up to $2 million. They can be put in jail for 2 years. They can be charged under the Copyright Act, which currently has statutory damages, which could be up to $20,000 per work infringed, so per work copied. Plus, you can be sued privately for the damage that you've caused the company that you've pirated the software from.
Many think that the industry should put their financial resources towards online services rather than lawsuits. And with Apple's success of their iTunes Music Store, many wonder what is taking the industry so long to build more legal alternatives.
Well, number one, they had the technology available to them before the music industry's ability to control it. So, as everybody is aware, that's been an ongoing problem. There's been litigation, there's been many things going on to try and control it. So what we have to do now is try and re-educate that generation that there's a legal option or legal options, and let them recognize that if they continue to access free music and not support the artists or support the songwriters, there'll be a lot less music and artists to enjoy in the future.
I think the music industry was in denial and then realized very quickly that they were way behind the 8 ball and had to catch up. I don't think the movie industry even realizes that this is going on, let alone trying to do, trying to make sense of it and combat it. I think that it's an old system that, that is very slow to change.
With the threat of less jobs in the workplace and less new products available to the consumer, will legal online alternatives be the industry's saving grace? How long will it take for new compression technology to arrive that will allow legal downloading of feature-length films? Only time will tell. No matter what happens, there will always be piracy. There will always be somebody around to break the encryption, and there will always be people to distribute it. Should the industries be so concerned about it that they continue to take massive legal action against their customers, or are there other alternatives that could be explored?
As far as going after individual file users, back off. You're hurting yourselves when you do that. This is not something that you want to do. It's called shooting yourself in the foot.
Going after individual downloaders isn't really doing much to disrupt the scene. What they should do and what they should concentrate on is, going after the heads of the big rings. When they do that, it's got more of an effect than when they sue 100 different individual downloaders. When a head is taken down, everything just kind of stops for a week to 2 weeks until somebody replaces them. There'll always be somebody there to replace them, but it definitely does more to disrupt the scene. It's definitely their best option.
Robin Hood's a hero for a reason. The record industries need to stop being the Sheriff of Nottingham. It's not complicated, guys. It really isn't.
Fortunately, no litigation spree has begun in Canada like it has in the US, and with more and more online resources coming into play, it will only be a short time before we find out how much these options will affect illegal downloading.
Having an online service where you can purchase a movie online, that seems to me the only way to combat what's going on. And I think that the music, the iTunes store, the Apple Music thing is proof that that is, I think, going to work. And having companies like Pepsi behind it and that. Otherwise, you're just beating your head against the wall. It's not going away.
I mean, the downloading and the burning are going to be the basis of the legal online services. You have to, that's what the technology is. And I think that that the public has got to be given as much flexibility as we can give them legally, while still protecting the copyrights. So I think it's going to be the framework for the ongoing process.
So whether you're a casual downloader or you're somebody that hasn't set foot into a retail outlet in years, you're committing a crime and you're affecting the way the industry works, but not necessarily for the better.
Okay, piracy in Canada is 39%. Do you know that's caused thousands of lost jobs in Canada. That has cost thousands in lost retail dollars and lost tax revenue in Canada. You know that reducing the piracy rate can improve the economy. It can only help people want to do more business in Canada. Theft is a crime, and theft is something that you need to consider always, how it will impact you, how it will impact your family, and how it will impact your workplace.
If you're a music lover, and one assumes that mostly you are, that you'd want to make certain that there's going to be music, and new artists, and new ideas, and new inspiration available to you in the future that you can enjoy. In order to do that, you've got to give something back to the creative side and to those that invest in the creativity to ensure that this music is available in the future. If you're not a music lover, then I guess you'll probably still consider going to a bricks and mortar retail store and stealing the stuff off the shelves, because that's the equivalent. You have to give something back to the process in order for there to be more wonderful music available in the future.
If you're willing to steal movies and music off the internet, there's nothing really that I can say morally to get you to stop. However, what I can promise you is that the more this goes on, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. The more this goes on, the less films, music, games are going to be out there for you to choose from. Entertainment is, whether you like it or not, entertainment is owned by people. It's not owned by the ether. So you steal it, and you're stealing from the people that will make the next movie or the next music, and you're going to start reducing your options.
When accessing movies, music, and software on the internet, you are stealing. Whether you choose to believe that fact or not is another story. One thing's for sure though, the less money that these industries bring in, the less they have to invest in more product for you. And the more you steal that material, the less enthusiastic that they're going to be when creating more media for you to consume. Take that into consideration the next time you fire up your peer-to-peer application, and think about the people that you're affecting, and ask yourself, is it really worth it?